When is it time to stop being consistent? The San Antonio Spurs have been the most consistent franchise in the NBA and have made the NBA playoffs for the past 22 straight years. With Tim Duncan being their all-time player, he and David Robinson helped the San Antonio Spurs to a championship in 1999. David Robinson retired in 2003, but Tim Duncan won championships with the Spurs in 1999, 2003, 2005, and 2007, and lastly in 2014, with help along the way from guys like Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Kawhi Leonard, to name the most notable guys. The definition of consistency. And when Tim Duncan really started to age, Kawhi Leonard started to emerge. At first, Kawhi was really known as the defensive stopper, but really had time to develop his offensive games with the help of Greg Popovich becoming a 25-plus point per game scorer in 2016, and the Spurs' new superstar, which helped them to continue to stay competitive, compete for championships. But we all know how this ended with a tear between Kawhi Leonard and the only franchise he'd ever known. He was sent to Toronto, went on to win the championship in 2019, but the Spurs got the short end of the stick, but really got the best they could in DeMar DeRozan to pair with LaMarCus Aldridge, two great all-time mid-range players, and two of the best mid-range players in today's game. It seems like kind of a lost art, and these guys have really zeroed in on that shot, and they're two of the best in the game at it. But this move from a superstar level player to an all-star level player in DeMar DeRozan took the Spurs from consistent championship contenders to a pretty good playoff team, which leads us to today. And I think the Spurs have to decide if it's still worth it to be competitive or not, to maybe make the 7th or 8th seed but ultimately be eliminated in the first or second round. They end up with a subpar draft pick. Now the Spurs have had a history of getting great players outside of the lottery. Kawhi Leonard was just outside the lottery. Tony Parker was picked with the 28th pick. Manu Ginobili was the 57th pick. So they've proven they can get great players without having a great draft pick. But we all know DeMar DeRozan and LaMarCus Aldridge is not enough to win a championship. Should they hit the reset button? When's the time to stop being consistent? DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is an 11-year pro, 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. DeMar DeRozan is one of those players I want to see back on a championship contender. He's 30 years old, which means he still has a decent amount of time left in his career, but like I said, the San Antonio Spurs are not championship contenders. They're a good playoff team, but that's really it. I want DeMar to have one last chance at an NBA championship, but he won't get that in San Antonio. He's a player option coming up, so he can return to San Antonio or seek a new home this offseason. I'd love to see the Denver Nuggets find a way to get him. They need another bucket getter, and DeRozan can be that guy for them. LaMarCus Aldridge will return to the Spurs next season, then he will become a free agent. If DeRozan picks up his option, this will put the Spurs in the same position as they are now and were in last year. A playoff team or potential playoff team, but again, that's just about it. And again, they'll need to ask themselves if it's still worth it to be consistently average at this point. I think they have three options: try to trade for another star to get back into championship contention, continue in this loop of consistency which has gone from championship contention, being a consistent championship contender every year, to being a consistent playoff contender, or they can blow it all up. Now obviously the Spurs are the last team you expect to tank in the NBA with their never-ending loop of consistency, and again they've gotten some great players with not so great draft picks, so they can still be consistent while still gathering talent in the draft. But with that being said, this whole video plays into the idea that every single team should be in one of two lanes in the NBA. Either they're in win now mode seeking a championship, or they're gathering the pieces and talent to compete for championships one day in the future. Like the Lakers, Bucks, and Clippers, who are our most legit championship contenders this year. Then teams outside of that who are also in win now mode, like the Jazz, Celtics, Sixers, Rockets, Nuggets, teams like that. Then on the flip side of that, you have other teams like the Pelicans, Grizzlies, Mavericks, and others who are gathering talent to win big in the future. But there's a middle ground in there, which is where the Spurs lie. The Magic, Pistons, and other teams who don't really have a clear future, but are competitive lower-tier playoff teams, which is fine if you're okay with just being average. And a team can just want to entertain their fans and have their fans be able to play into the sport and be happy with being a fan and compete for playoff spots. But with DeMar DeRozan and LaMarCus Aldridge as your best two players, you aren't winning a championship. If the Spurs are seeking another championship, they won't get that with these two players. Two great players, but DeRozan can't be the best player on a championship team. What should be the Spurs' next move? In conclusion, the San Antonio Spurs have been the model for consistency in sports for decades, winning their first championship in 1999 and their most recent in 2014, with the superstar going from Tim Duncan to Kawhi Leonard, and then going down to an all-star level player in DeMar DeRozan to pair with LaMarCus Aldridge, and that led them to no longer being a championship caliber team. And the question is, should they still try to be competitive? How worth it is for any NBA team to fight for the 7th and 8th seeds with no clear direction for the future? No championship level player with no superstar young talent to help them get it to a championship in the future. Should the Spurs stay competitive with Coach Pop or hit the reset button and start a new chapter? Let me know in the comments below. But I say they start over and develop young talent, try to make another splash in the draft to search for more championships and get back to themselves in the future. Let me know your thoughts below. Thank you guys for watching. This has been Shoutout with Hoops ×2. The subscribe button if you like this video, the like button if you enjoyed this video. Peace out.